Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm excited to be here. It's Jordan Edwards, and we're talking about today what it takes to create a life that you want on your terms and what allows you to do that. And what are some of the ways to get there? And this all started because I had a client, a potential client who I was speaking with, and I asked him, "What do you see for your life a year from now or 5 years from now?" And he goes, "I have no idea." And it got me thinking, and it made me realize that he's never been asked this question. He's never even thought about this question. So I'm asking you, the audience today, what is it that you want to see your life in a year? What do you want to be doing? What do you want to be? Where do you want to travel to? What do you want to see in a year, in 5 years? Because whether or not we like it, the time is going to go. And it's what do we do about it to make the most? And what I realize is if we have food, shelter, and clothing covered, which that does not mean you need 40 pairs of shoes, 3 pairs of shoes suffice. In America, we just have so much abundance. And what our version of shelter is, like you might have a roof over your head, running water, all of that. And it's really to have the proper perspective of realizing that you're good, you're fine. There might be things that you want to improve, sure. However, how do you what perspective do you need to have the life that you want, to have the happiness that will come from that and will come from that journey? And it's realizing that there's 5 pillars of life, and a majority of us just stay in 1 or 2 pillars, and we just completely disregard the others, allowing us not to live that full life, the whole span of emotions, the whole aspect of what are we really doing here? What are we trying to create? What is life really about? And some of those areas to me are mental health, which is we live with ourselves every single day. How do we not think about this? Because it's the real goal, the real objective, the real direction, what we're looking to achieve is something that we can look forward to, we can be happy about, we can be proud of, we can be grateful for. And for that all to happen, we need to have a proper mental health. And mental health is something that's just not talked about. We don't ask each other, we don't ask the questions of, how are you doing today? That's what we ask. And everyone says good. Meanwhile, we know people are not good. We know that for a fact. And it's just, what can we do about that? So it's asking better questions to ourselves. So it's, what is our mental health like today? And then it's, what does a 10 look like for me? And asking these types of questions, you can start to see where it might be good and it might be bad. For example, maybe what you're looking for is to have a deep relationship with your children or a deep friendship with other people. Or maybe it's you want to work out every single day. You need to go to the beach. You need to get sunlight. Like there's a list of things that we're told to do every single day and that we've been, and the problem is because the information's super confusing. So we have to basically test out what we think works for us. And for example, for me, one of those things is there's physical health too. And one of those things that help my mental health is when my physical health is on. And that happened to me when I created and decided that I was going to do 75 hard. And that was because I was able to stick to a plan and able to achieve goals and able to continue on, and allowed me the freedom and the space to really consider, what is it that I want? What is it that I'm thinking about? What is it what direction am I going in? And most of the time in America, it's always a financial direction. It's always a job promotion, or it's always a leveling up, a new house, a new car, whatever it is. It's always a very monetary goal. Well, you might look at Europe or Australia and they'll travel for 6, 8, 10, 12 weeks at a time because theirs is travel. So you might ask these people who have food, shelter, and clothing, what is it that you're really looking for? And that's why I say, what direction are we looking towards for a 1 year goal, for a 5 year goal? Because either way, the time's going to go. And it can go one of two ways. It can go, I've watched everything on Netflix, or I can go, I've created a life that I'm really proud of and excited about. And that doesn't mean starting a billion side hustles. That might mean just working on Poshmark and reselling bags or going on a walk with your grandchild. It can be whatever you want. It's being there for your family moments. It's getting to work out every day. It's what can you do today? What needs to be created today to allow you to propel to that life that you want? For myself, for example, I created the podcast because that was fulfilling a need that I had because we all have needs too. And these aren't just, oh, what's your, because like when you really think about it, a need, oh, I need that Rolex. I need that new watch. Or is it, I need this for my mental health to be good. I need this for my physical health to be good. I need this for spirituality to be good. I need this for community service and philanthropy to be good. I need this for my relationships to be good. And those are different. And these needs we have to realize because we have to figure out who we are. Most of the time we just sit there and we go, I got this job, or I got this new house, or I got this whatever. I'm going on this trip. What's it for? What are we learning about ourselves? Like we have so much time on this rock together, and it's what do we want to create for ourselves? What do we want to leave as a legacy? What do we want to do? What do we want to change? And what I've been seeing a lot of is as people get older and older, these dreams diminish. When you're a child, you think everything's possible. However, you hear no a lot of the time. So it causes you to be placed in this box. But there's some fighters out there. There's some people who go, I'm not going in the box. How do I create the life that I want? And it's what is that life for you? And for me, some of that is being able to travel like once a month, being able to go international 3 times a year, being able to live this life that I've wanted and I'm working towards and I'm creating. Because if we're not creating it, then nothing will change. And that is why I ask you today, what is it that you're looking for? And I want this perspective for you to realize that happiness isn't very far away. Happiness might be right next to you. For example, this morning, it was Sunday morning, and I thought, Saturday night, we were just hanging out, and I thought, why not go to the beach for sunrise? That's what we did. Completely free activity, had to pay for parking. And then there was a new breakfast spot that I wanted to try. Like, people, happiness can be created in whatever way you want. It doesn't take a whole bunch. It's just you being intentional and thinking, wow, this could be really cool. Wow, I'd really like to do this. I'd like to share this. And that comes from when we start combining some of these areas of life, some of these different pillars, like I was talking about before. So, one of the ways I did this is there's mental health, physical health, and these are the Edwards Consulting pillars: mental health, physical health, community service, philanthropy, spirituality, and relationships. And it's how do we combine as many of these as possible for an incredible experience that carries on longer than we would believe it to be. For me, for example, one of the ones I did that I think is a great example of finding things that hit multiple pillars is when I ran the New York City Marathon. One, it's a physical challenge. You're not just showing up to a marathon, you're training week in, week out. You're training for like 4 or 5 months. It's not an easy task. It's a challenging task. On top of that, I invited my brother to do it with me. So now me and my brother are training together. Not really, because he was in Jersey and I was in Florida. We did a couple runs together, but we were training. A third component of that is that we had to raise money for Colorectal Cancer Alliance. And we raised $8,000. So now the philanthropy component's in there. And as you start creating a life with multiple pillars, then you have something to look for. You have something to work towards. And this is happening each and every month because we're making progress. And to be honest with you, any real happiness comes from progress. So it's how do we make progress? Whether it's I want to go to 100 countries, like one of my past guests, Mr. Jimmy Rex, and his progress was every time he went to a new country, you'd count it. Oh, been to 92, 93, 94, 95. Now I'm over 100. It's a fantastic goal because it's a long-term vision, which I encourage and I think is great because that marathon that I'm telling you about, the New York City one that happened in 2021, that was the 50th. And we had to train a lot for that. So that's a 5 month commitment. That's something we're working towards for a while. And it's not an easy, hey, I'm going to pick it up and go. So these visions for your life that you want to create, work towards them. Another one could be going to Europe for 6 weeks. Who knows? Whatever. Trying scuba diving for the first time. Having a girls trip when you haven't gone in 20 years. Because many of us, as we get older and older, we give up on our dreams. We give up on what we wanted to create. And these aren't always money. These aren't always monetary things. Maybe it's going snowboarding or going skiing or surfing or skateboarding or playing poker with your friends. It can be anything. Maybe it's watching The Bachelor on Monday. But I know that there's a lot of people out there that aren't living that dream that they wanted to. So my declaration to you today is what could that dream look like for you? What are some of the things that you'd want to accomplish in the next year? What are some of the things you want to work towards? And realizing that they might not be that far away. They might be a lot closer than you think they are. And by working on them each and every day, then we have at least something that we're excited about and we're proud of. And it can be expanding a business. It can be working to get that promotion. It can be a lot of these things, but it could also be building a pool in your backyard. It could be having a barbecue with your family, running a monthly program where you and your extended family all meet on Zoom. It can be any of these things because life is precious and it's based on the relationships that we build with each other. And that's why one of the ones that hit me hard was this podcast because it was never a goal. It was never an intention because this is one of the things where I say, set a goals, do this, but sometimes things just come to you. And the podcast was one of those. And to be completely honest, for the first 5 months of it, I didn't post anything. I was just recording videos, recording podcasts because I didn't know what I was going to do with it. And then I started to get on this routine and I started to get these habits and I started to get this direction. And now I'm in the habit. I post every Thursday in the morning, a.m. Eastern time, like usually around 8 a.m. Eastern time. Post every morning. Now, if that's the case, then sometimes there are podcasts, sometimes there aren't podcasts, which causes me to do two things. I get to meet more people, which I enjoy talking to people because I have a curious need myself. I have a need for learning. And that's why I've been able to interview incredible people across the spectrum from sports stars to founder of Fortune 500 companies to some billionaire. Like there's incredible people that I've been able to speak with and everybody in between from the people that I did the Machu Picchu hike with to someone who's the top realtor in Salt Lake City to the guy who struggled with addiction to any direction. Because here's the truth. We are all human And we are all just trying to figure this out. However, if we can find out positive ways to build ourselves each and every week, each and every day, each and every hour, then we'll be able to feel better about ourselves, which will allow us to be better about ourselves and we'll show up better with our relationships. And it's so important because we usually only gauge ourselves on financials and we don't gauge ourselves on were we a nice person today? Did we help somebody today? Did we change something today? Another example literally happened this Friday. I am I go and meet my rabbi and I was talking with him and he had an episode on the podcast as well because you need that spiritual mentor. And he didn't look well. He looked like his back was hurting. And I started asking him, like, what's happening? And I got him a massage. I sent him to a massage parlor. Why? Because I want, if you're able to help people, why not? And we always view our lives through this scarcity mindset of not seeing that we are enough. We have enough. We have food, shelter, and clothing. Especially, like, for example, for myself, I have hundreds of shirts. And that's why I give them away because it's what am I going to do with all these shirts in my closet? What am I going to do with all these shirts? What am I going to do with all these pants? I wear the same three pants. And we don't realize that we just have so much stuff. And we're always on this chase of accumulating more stuff. But what about that decluttering? What about that downsizing? What about that changing so that you might be a little bit more financially free to make a move and maybe move somewhere you never thought possible? Anything is possible, but you need to start with a thought. So what originates the thought? The question. The questions originate the thought. So what is the question that we're looking for of what do we want in a year? What is something that we want to accomplish? And it can be anything. For me in 2018, it was to start a business. It started 2019. It was start a business. It was run a marathon, and it was pass all four sections of the CPA. And throughout that year, these are big goals. You can't just accomplish them in a day. And the first goal was build a business. That started with Edwards Consulting. That started with me coaching people. That's now the group. That's the tribe. That's the helping. Each and every week, we work together to build a more collective perspective on what we think is possible. Or it's the one-on-one coaching where we work to help these people answer these questions instead of doing it through a podcast format because I just want to provide value to you. It needs to happen somewhere. You need to get this information somewhere. You need to realize what direction are you going in? What place are we happening in? Are we in the direction that we want to go? Or are we over consuming in areas that might be too materialistic or too many drugs, too much alcohol? What is it that we're doing? How are we creating the life that we want? Are we setting trips 4 months in advance so that we can be excited about them? What is it that we're creating? Are we doing big deals? Are we changing our thought process? Are we changing what we think is possible? And that's what this goal of 2019 or these objectives in 2019, I thought were going to really move the needle for me. And they did because I ended up running a marathon too, the Lake Tahoe Marathon, which is crazy. That's 6,000 feet elevation. I'm training in Florida. I have zero elevation. What am I doing? How is this possible? How to wear a mask, how to do all this crazy stuff. But I did it and it was incredible and it was amazing and it was fun. And the key is to realize that life becomes fun once we put our own parameters on it. I don't get to interview cool people without me putting in the parameter of I'm a podcaster. I don't get to run marathons without the parameter I run marathons. And this comes down to identity. A lot of us identify with, hey, we might be just a doctor or just an accountant, but we're also a dad, a friend, a son, all of these. But we're more than that. We might be a speaker. We might be a biker. We might be a motorcyclist. We might be a guitar player, but we don't give ourselves the chance because we go, that doesn't make money. What are we doing there? That doesn't make money. It's not all about money. It's about something that gives you pride and joy and something that you're proud of. I might be a traveler, and it's okay to have 25 different identities because you know what? Who cares? In 20 years after we pass, who's going to talk about us? In 500 years, who's going to talk about us? Today, this is a reminder to live your life like you want to live it. Do the cool things you want to do. Go hike the Inca Trail for 4 days. Go to the pyramids of Giza. Go to Israel. Hike in Bali. Like, go enjoy yourself partying on a beach in Thailand. Explore. Go for that exploration because it doesn't just happen. It's not like this is it. You got to create this. And every person who's ever done it knows that they're created. You create the people that you want to be. You create the people you look up to. Most of the time we view it as athletes. That's all they do. They're all in sports. And a lot of the times it's an easy parameter because they work out, they train, they practice, they do it all because it's their direction they want to go. So realize, why are you know more about athletes than yourself? What are your stats? What are you looking to build? How much do you weigh? What's your height? What's your income? You know what I mean? These are things that we got to get proud about. These are things that we got to focus on, that we got to work on, be proud of. And it's, what is it? I set myself up as I'm the podcaster. I've done 130 podcasts. What the heck? And I'm telling you, it's literally a hobby that I enjoy to do and I get paid for. It's incredible. Why are we not starting more things that we're interested in? So then the next question is, if you're sitting there going, what do I want to accomplish? What do I want to do in a year? It might be better to sit back and go, name 10 things that make you happy. What are 10 things that make you happy? And these could be anything, but get descriptive with them. It might be having a drink with your friends. It might be going on a run. It could be going to a concert, going to anything, a sporting event, whatever you want it to be. It could be writing a book, it could be reading a book, it could be listening to a podcast. Whatever makes you happy, figure that out. Figure out 10 things right now. Pause this podcast and write down 10 things that make you happy. Then figure out how to implement them more in your life. Things that make me happy. Before I was doing the podcast, I was doing intro calls with people I thought were successful. The only difference is I record them now. That's it. And then I put them out. That is literally it. It was me being interested in the intro call because I wanted to learn what people did. However, the funny thing is that the intro call is significantly harder to get because it's just a one-way value. I realized that the podcast is a win-win value, meaning by them coming on the podcast, I am promoting it to my network and they are learning about this person, and it's in a very positive light. And I'll do clips and all of it happens because I want to meet these people, because I want to talk to them, and it works better as you go longer and longer and longer because you have more things to step on. Like I can go, I have a top 1.5% podcast. People go, oh, interested. Cool. Let me learn more. And these things, you just have to realize that everything takes time. All great things take a long time and they build and they compound. And that's what I'm talking about because maybe it's, I enjoy doing spin class. Maybe I want to teach a spin class, or maybe I want to become a yoga instructor, or maybe I like living in New Jersey during the year, and then in the winter time, I want to go live in California. Cool. Whatever it is, it's your life. You do you. However, think about how you're going to create it because I'm telling you, a lot of us are limited by what we believe is possible. And I'm going to let you know, anybody who's ever done anything is possible. Meaning, there are people who travel 365 days a year. It might be hard to believe, but that's what they do. They don't have a home. They just travel. There are people who make millions and millions and billions of dollars a year. What is holding you back? There are people who create podcasts and post every single day. What is holding you back? I'm only posting once a week because that's where my happy medium is today, right now. And these can always change and they can always be reevaluated. Now, it's important to realize that once we have this set up where we're gonna figure out what makes us happy, then we're gonna build on what we want for that year, then we need to look at where this overlines and this overlaps and what you will need to do to get there and what are maybe some of these goals or some of these things or maybe some of these directions you can look into. Now, if you found any of this interesting, or if this is something you want to discuss further, please shoot me an email at jordan@edwards.consulting. No .com. You can Instagram DM me. We could talk further. I'll do a complimentary coaching call for everyone who reaches out. I'd love to learn about these different perspectives. My goal in life is to have a holistic perspective. It's to see everyone's perspective. It's to walk into a restaurant, think about the waiter's perspective, the doorman's perspective, the valet driver's perspective, the person who's having a business meeting's perspective, the person who's on the first date perspective, the people who are sitting there who are the water people. What's their perspective? What's the perspective of the owner? What's the perspective of the person who owns the building? There are so many different perspectives out there, and that's just a restaurant ecosystem. Think about the world. Once we realize that we don't know that much because we can always be learning. So let's continue learning. Let's keep clocking in. And I can't wait to see you guys later on. Also, want to note, very end, this is some new merch that will be coming out very soon. If you're interested, if you're watching this on YouTube, cannot wait. I hope you have an amazing, amazing time, week, day, and most importantly, keep clocking in. Have a great one.